everyone. So today we are doing a holiday inspired look. I have been eyeing this particular shade in the Kat Von D Metal Matte palette for quite some time. And yes, I know I posted a tutorial not that long ago, a couple days back, using the same palette. But I told you guys when I bought this palette that green was calling my name, that beautiful moss shade. So that's what we're doing today. I'm using the Tinsel Metal Crush eyeshadow, which is kind of like a silvery green color with some glitter in the inner corner, just to kind of make this a little bit more fun and festive. It's definitely something you don't have to do, but I wanted to give you guys an idea or sort of inspire you to do something holiday-ish. And yes, this green is a typical holiday color, but you can swap out the green for any shade in that palette that you want. You could even do this with the blue. That would be absolutely beautiful, which I actually might need to try that. You could swap it out for a kind of reddish warm color. You can do anything you want, but I just wanted to do this video to give you some inspiration for the holidays, and I would actually wear this to a holiday party because it looks beautiful and I love it. I will not be showing you the foundation, the bronze and all that, the application of that. I will tell you towards the end of the video what I'm wearing, and I'll also list it down below for you, so if you're interested in anything else that I'm wearing on the face, you will know what it is. So if you want to see how to do the eyes, then keep watching and I'll show you exactly how to do it. Alright, so to start this look off, I've already applied a little concealer and some translucent setting powder to my lids to prevent the creasing from happening. It's the step that I do because I do have oily lids. If you don't have to do that. And then I'm going to start by taking a Morphe E30 brush, which is a really large eyeshadow brush, and the shade called Bone, which is a very light kind of off-white shade. And this is going to go over my lids and all the way up to my brow bone as well. Then to begin the crease work, I'm going to start with a light shade for my transition. I'm going to use the Zoeva 228 Luxe Crease Brush, which is a very tapered kind of pointed crease, which I love. I think this is a great brush. And I'm going to pick up the color called Suede. It's really one of the only shades that you can use in this palette as a transition, because the next one that's kind of in the neutral kind of browns is Oak, and that is quite dark, which you certainly could do that if you use it very light-handed. So I'm going to use this brush to apply this directly into my crease. And I'm going to bring it slightly up a little bit, up onto my actual brow bone, just a little bit. Now, if you are darker than me, you may need to mix a little bit of Suede and Oak if you have this palette to get a bit of a darker transition shade. Or you can just pull in colors from other brands, palettes, whatever you've got would work. You don't really have to have the specific one to do this look. Next, I'm going to switch to a small brush. It's very similar to the one that I just used. This one is the 231 Luxe Petite Crease, which is just a mini size of the brush that I was just using. And I started with the shade called Moss, which is basically the star of the show. It's a beautiful matte, like foresty kind of green shade. It's like a hunter green type of shade. I'm going to take a little bit of that onto the very tip of the brush. Now this is a little bit difficult to work with, just slightly. It's not that bad, honestly, but it is a little difficult. So I'm going to start by applying just a little bit into my crease, so that when I apply it all over the lid, it just looks more seamless and more blended. So I'm just going to start by adding a little bit, and this color is very, very pigmented. And basically what this is going to do is create a light wash of that green, just to create almost like an outline, so that you know not to go higher than that when applying the shade on the lid, because it is a dark shade and it is very pigmented. I know for me, I get so excited with makeup that I get kind of out of hand and out of control. So this is a way to kind of keep myself from bringing that really dark shade up too high and then looking crazy. But it doesn't have to be super, super precise. So you see that just creates a pretty wash. And honestly, if you didn't want to wear this shade all over the lid, you could just do this, because this almost looks like a soft kind of olive green versus this intense like bam in your face type green. Alright, so then I'm going to pick up a flat shader brush that looks like this. It's just your typical eyeshadow brush that's very thin and densely packed. I actually wanted to use the one from Sonia Kashuk because that's my favorite one, but I don't know what I did with it, and it's much smaller in size than this, but we're just going to make it work with what we got. Picking up the Moss shade and tapping off the excess, and then I'm going to start patting this color all over the lid. And I'm going to leave this inner part right in here bare because we're going to use a different shade there in a little bit. And with the tip of that brush, I'm sort of wiggling it so that it meets up with what we put in that crease, that sort of outline and that light wash of that same shade. So there isn't a gap between the lid and the crease. And then I'm going to go back in with that same brush that I used to apply a little bit of the color into the crease, and I'm going to start working this back and forth to soften out the edges. And this is where that outline and that wash of color comes in handy because it helps with blending. Alright, so I'm going to switch back to that same brush that I used for my transition shade with a little bit more of the suede, which is that really soft light tan shade. And I'm going to go around the edges, and what that's going to do is soften out some of that green, and I'm not going to come up too high, but it's also going to put down a little bit of warmth that sort of comes around and borders that green a bit. Now if you wanted to, you could do something a little bit more warm tone, like a soft kind of orangey tan color that will pair really beautifully with this green, but I'm just sticking to what's available in this palette just in case any of you actually have it. And I wanted to give you guys an idea for the holiday season. Now I'm going to work on the lower lash line and then come back to the inner corner. I'm going to take a small detail brush. This is an old one from the Ultra Professional brand. I don't even know what the style is called. I've had this brush for probably 7 years now, and it works like a charm. So I'm going to take some of that moss, tapping off the excess, and I'm going to apply this to my lower lashes, but I'm going to stick really close to the root of my lash. And I'm going to come in about halfway. Taking a pencil brush, this is the MAC 219, I'm going to soften out the edges of that green. And then with that pencil brush, I'm going to pick up a little bit of suede and go underneath. Just the same way that we did on the crease, we're going to do the same thing on the lower lash line. And again, leaving the inner corner bare because we're going to use a really fun shade there. Now for the inner corner and the upper half of the lid, I'm taking the Sigma Shader Lid E56 brush that looks like this with the shade called Tinsel, which is this shade right here, and I would say it's like a silvery green color with some glitter flecks. Now if you use it just with a brush that's not damp, it's gonna just give you a bunch of like flecky shimmer all over the place. You could use your finger to apply it, that's gonna give you the most payoff, or you can do the method that I'm gonna do, which is loading up my brush with the shadow and then spraying it with some of the Smashbox Primer Water to dampen it. You can use Max Fix Plus as well, just to create a foiled look, and I'm gonna apply that to this inner part and this lower inner corner. And for the lower inner corner, I'm going to switch to the E46, which is just a baby version of what I was using for the upper lid. I feel like it's more precise for this inner corner. And again, with the same Smashbox Primer Water. Now what I'm going to do to soften where the shimmery color meets with that green, I'm going to take the same brush that I used to apply the green on the lid, which shouldn't be much on there. You don't want to pick up any additional product, and what you're going to do is just sort of kind of pat gently. And I like to flip my brush over and pat, flip it over, and what you're doing is creating like an ombre effect from that kind of silvery glittery shade into the green. Then I'm taking a black eyeliner. This is the Modster eyeliner from Ardency in the shade called Black. I'm going to tight line. Now for the lower lash line, it looks really dark, and what I did was I started with the black, but then I thought I wanted something a little different, so I mixed a black and a dark navy blue just to give me some darkness, but it's not going to be black. It's going to help brighten up the eyes because of the bluish kind of tone to it. I just mixed some shades. If you have a really nice dark green eyeliner, that would be perfect. I didn't really have one, surprisingly. So I just kind of mixed these two to give myself like a really dark navy type shade. And then I'm going to use a liquid liner in a black shade just to create a pretty basic line. It's a little thicker on the outer corner, and it's just really simple, nothing too crazy. Then of course I'm finishing off the eyes with some of my go-to mascara. This is the Tarte Tartiest Lash Paint Mascara. Alright, so now that the eyes are done, I just want to kind of talk you through the rest of the makeup that I'm wearing. The foundation is the Urban Decay Naked Skin Foundation, which I will list down below with everything else. I didn't do this sort of routine because I did it in my last video, the full face tutorial that I posted, which I will link here if you haven't seen it. I have covered everything and showed you how I applied my foundation. So that's what I'm wearing today. The bronzer and blush is from the Smashbox L.A. Lights palette. And the shade that I use is Rich Bronze for the bronzer. And then this one called True Flesh as the blush. It's a very soft, very natural color. I did add a little extra today because I wanted to have, you know, a strong blush look, but I also wanted it to be something very natural, like the tone of it. You could do a berry color as well for the blush. That would be really pretty. For my highlights, I'm using the Tarte Skin Twinkle palette that came out earlier this year, and I mixed both of these shades here to highlight, and that's what's giving me that really pretty glow. And on the lips, I'm wearing the Jouer Longwear lipstick in the shade Terra. It's such a pretty color. I was almost gonna wear, what's that color called? Creme Brulee, because it has kind of like a warm kind of undertone to it, which I think would pair really nicely with this green, but I decided for the Terra because it's just a little bit darker. And I really like it. I like how it pairs up with the green shade on the eyes. And that, you guys, is the entire look. I hope that you guys enjoyed this, and maybe some of you will try this out for a holiday event this month, or just trying it out just because it's a different color. I don't normally do greens, and when I do looks like this using shades that I normally don't use, I'm like, I don't know why I don't use these colors more often, because this is a really beautiful shade. And it's quite easy to do. It wasn't very labor intensive. It's just, you know, one main eyeshadow with a little bit of sparkle in the inner corner, which that could be totally customizable. You could put the sparkle in the center of the lid. That would be beautiful as well. So I hope that you guys will get some sort of inspiration for the holidays from this video. Thank you for spending some of your day with me, and I appreciate your love and support. It always is something that really is everything to me, and I just want to thank you for being there and supporting me and my channel. I couldn't do this without you. Have a fabulous time. If you want to follow me off camera, I do have social media. It's all in the description box. As always, have a fabulous day, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.